Hey guys, how's it going? It's Muthurajah here. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Hopefully, 2021 is a better year than last year for many of us with regards to work or loss of life or whatever else that you're dealing with in life. I really hope things look up for the better of all of us. All right, so I decided to do this video because I've been getting asked quite a bit by people on Instagram, particularly because I haven't posted much on YouTube, about my current studio setup at home. I've done some massive changes, massive upgrades. In fact, I want to talk about how I went from this guy. Believe it or not, this was my studio for the longest time. It's got a 2 XLR, an instrument in, a stereo mic. So I actually tracked my first album, the guitars and bass, using this guy. Probably not the best move, but that's all I could do at the moment. I couldn't afford to spend additional money on top of what I spent. And over time, I've managed to save and invest in a whole bunch of gear. And I want to share with you my insights, my thoughts into what it takes to build a very decent working home studio. All right, so check it out. All right, so first things first, like I mentioned in an older video a few months ago, actually about 6 months ago, if I'm not mistaken, I got the Scarlette 8920, okay? So that's my primary interface. 8 channels, this is the 3rd gen. For the price point, it is the best interface on the market. I've managed to get some seriously insane drum sounds. The bass sounds I've gotten, even the guitar sounds. The preamps are nice and clean, really quite warm. And again, like I said, for a price point of 500 USD, it can't deliver any better. I don't think anybody else has anything on the market that can outdo this, in my opinion and experience. Okay, and below that I've got the Behringer AD8200, I believe, an additional 8-channel preamp which is connected via ADAT, so I have 16 channels at my disposal. The reason I wanted 16 channels is because when you record drums, 8 channels is good enough, but the problem is I also have my bass and then guitar inputs in the front, and then I have my talkback mic here. I needed 3 inputs dedicated just for that. That's one. And secondly, for recording drums, the more mics you have, the more options you actually have for mixing. So I just recently tracked drums for my record right here in my room, right there. Okay, and I had taken 6 channels out of the Focusrite and 4 out of the Behringer. I stuck to using certain channels specifically on the Focusrite just because it's got the air feature on the preamps, which adds this high mid, low mid boost, which is quite airy and quite natural sounding. It makes you sound like you're playing in a particular room, which is nice for overheads and snare sometimes, or the toms even. So this way, the other cool thing is I have 6 channels on the Scarlette, which is permanent. It doesn't move. Kick, snare, toms and overheads, that is fixed. That's the benefit of having multiple preamp channels. You can dedicate X number to a specific instrument and leave it untouched. So my drums are forever set up. I just go on Logic, 3 to 8, I can record drums straight. However, for my record, I ended up using 10 microphones, including a room mic, a kick in, and a floor mic, which is a technique I kind of got from a good friend, Simon Peter King. Major shout out to Simon. So a condenser placed between the midway point of the snare, kick and hi-hat, so it captures a very nice balanced image of the 3, which are crucial in any style of music for drums. Okay, and these 2 are powered by the power conditioner. This is the Furman M10XE. It's got 10 outlets on the back and 1 on the front, 1 amp outlets. So my interfaces and my studio monitors are both powered by this guy. Easy, I'm lazy, so what I do is I just unplug the monitors from the back a little, turn this off when I'm wrapping it up, turn it on, plug the monitors back in from the back, so I don't have to go behind to switch on or off the monitors individually. Easy, it keeps things very smooth and even instead of having to run around. All right, And now to the actual desk and what's directly in front of me. All right, so I switched to using an iMac last year, primarily because I actually fried my MacBook, and I was just like, you know what, doesn't look like I'm going to be traveling anytime soon or touring or doing master classes and stuff like that. I'm going to be sitting my ass down, so I might as well get something that can really just be stationary. Hence the iMac, and a very decent, affordable secondary screen. Okay, I've got the KRK Rokit 5s, the G4, the 4th gen. Now, I know a lot of people criticize them for having too much low end and not being ideal for mixing. For me, for the way I work, it's perfect. I like to produce music as if it's already mixed. So I do my best to dial in the sound in such a way that I don't have to sit later on in the mixing process to sit and try to figure out why that frequency is acting funny, because I try to think of all those things ahead of time. Okay, so this is a session of one of my tunes for my upcoming record, just to give you a little idea of what it sounds like. The drums sound incredible. Entirely recorded in this room. All right, so over here I have this very, very cheap surface controller. So these faders work well, pan pods. I've got a solo and a mute. You can see when I hit the solo button, it's engaging the entire drum track. Depending on where I place my selected track, I can use 9 channels. So if I've clicked on 1, I hit solo, it works on 1. If I hit 10, it works on 10, and then 9 channels up. Okay, very handy, and I think I only paid like 20 bucks for that, USD. Okay, and right here I've got the Yamaha P45 digital piano. Again, something extremely affordable. It's got built-in speakers, which I tend to use if I'm exploring ideas, but otherwise it's connected via USB to my Mac. So all my piano sounds, synths, pads, and EPs, whatever I play has plugins on Logic is being done here. I have a MIDI controller which is hanging out in the back over there right now. That's great for synths, but generally I've tried over the last year to just get my piano playing together, so I figured weighted keys would be the way to go. Okay, to my left, I've got my trusty guitar stand. Yes, that's my laundry basket you see over there. Okay, that's the Marcio. You can actually see how thin the Marcio looks in comparison to the Squire, which I find really funny. It's lighter than the Squire even. Okay, so to the back end of the room is where I have the drums. Now, I've set up the drums in the lower ceiling part of the room, which is weird to some people, and yes, that is my bed, and that lump you see there is actually Nala sleeping. So the reason I did this is because I prefer to record with a tight and focused sound, and the airiness, I believe, comes from the way you play, particularly your overheads, your cymbals, your touch, the way you hit them is what gives you the air. I don't think the ceiling helps much if your cymbal technique is shit. Okay, this is a very hybrid setup. I did not use these toms on the actual record because these don't sound good for recording. They're good for practice. I actually replaced them with a pair from a friend. That kick sounds incredible. That's originally a floor tom converted by a good friend of mine, Mr. Sam Jones. Okay, so that's the drums. This is the Shure PGA7 drum kit mic. So I used all the 7 mics plus an additional bunch of condensers to record drums in here. And that is my next step in investment, because these mics sound great for what they are, for the price point. That PGA81 for the overheads sound great. are incredible. The whole set of 7 mics was about 600 USD at most. 600 to 700, around there. Okay, last but definitely not the least are these panels that I built. Okay, so first of all, you can see just from the way I pick it up, they're very light and very durable. Simple whitewood frames I got built through a local carpenter and then assembled it with a bunch of my friends. The inside's fiberglass. I've got a slightly thicker cloth on the front and a thinner cloth on the back for the sake of air gaps. Okay, I don't know how well you can see that, but they're slightly transparent on the back. Best part is they are not nailed to the wall. I used industrial grade Velcro to just stick them on, and if I pull them apart, the Velcro stays and then the panel comes off on its own, and then I can remove that separately. Up there is a GoPro mount. I did some overhead cam shots for the actual drum recording. So this is a point of view from the drums of the rest of the studio. So this is essentially my bedroom and my studio. Actually, it's a lot more like my studio because even the bed, you can kind of figure out why I went with the day bed. This acts as a bass strap, which is also cool. Hence, I kind of forcefully placed it in the corner. I'm getting a couple more bass straps for those corners, and then eventually I might actually end up treating this side of the room, which is going to be painful. These are my video lights, Andoer video lights, really good lights that I tend to use time to time, and I would definitely use in the future for other YouTube videos since I have a very functional and permanent setup to work with. Okay, this is the Rode pod mic, which I use for talkbacks during video lessons on Zoom. And I also record with this thing. I record voice with this, which is very good for doing layers and stuff like that. All right, so that's the studio. And hopefully that gives you a clear picture as to what you can actually do. Now, I do want to mention very quickly, as far as the cost breakdown goes, all of this, if I exclude the instruments, of course, including the iMac, the upgrade I did to it, my monitors, this keyboard, the interfaces, and all of that came up to about 5,500 USD. I know there are interfaces that go at that price range. I have nothing against expensive gear, but I think it's important to have a starting point. Just like how in music you have basics, you got to learn how to hold the guitar before you start to play Van Halen's Eruption. Similarly, in this regard, I like to look at it the same way. Eventually, of course, I would love to upgrade these two, probably get an Apollo or Universal Audio, whatever it is that I need to look into, do some more research. But for what I've got going right now, I'm extremely happy. And even if I get another interface, I might not replace it. I might hold on to this guy and use it for different purposes. So never undermine affordable, cheap gear, okay? Because you can learn a lot. There's a lot of mileage that you can get out of it. Again, before I forget, as far as software is concerned, I use Logic Pro for audio and Final Cut Pro for video. I use Final Cut primarily because it's easy to use, and also because whatever audio plugins I have on Logic open and work on Final Cut, so I can actually use any Waves plugins that I'm using on Logic on Final Cut as well, which is really handy if you want to work with certain noises or frequencies. I struggled a lot with fixing certain frequencies when I used to shoot video lessons before in my previous apartment, because my previous apartment was quite reflective, very noisy. The grounding wasn't great with electricity, so every time the refrigerator would work its compressor, my mic would pick up those noises, but that's not the case now. In fact, right now I'm recording this with just my iPhone mic, not even using a microphone, and you can probably hear how detailed it sounds. That's definitely because of the treatment, the layout of the room, and a whole bunch of things, which I might eventually actually talk about in other videos, because I think setting up a remote workstation is quite a necessity now, considering the times we live in. All right, with that being said, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys very soon with an actual video lesson. So stay safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you guys in the shed until the next one. Peace.